A woman tells this story. She says that after her 5-year-old daughter saw the movie Cinderella, she started using her pinwheel as a magic wand, pretending that she was the fairy godmother. And she went to her mother and she said, "Mom, make 3 wishes and I'll grant them." And so the mother asked for world peace. And the little girl swung her wand and said, "Mom, your wish is fulfilled." And the mother's next wish was to cure all the ill children in the world. Again, with a spin of the pinwheel, the child said, "Mom, your wish has been granted." Now, the mother said that because she's somewhat of a large woman, her 3rd wish was, "I wish to have a trim figure again." And the little 5-year-old fairy godmother started to wave her wand madly. And she stopped and said, "Mom, I think I'll need more power for this." Hey folks, today I come to you with good news. The good news is that we have someone with what I would call unlimited power. Someone who can help us whenever we need or wish to be granted. Someone to help us when we're suffering. And that someone is our Blessed Mother. I think all we have to do is to approach her in prayer, to ask her to enter into our life in a very special way, and to help us with our suffering. You know, we need Mary in our life at all times, but especially when we're suffering. You know, when we're sick, when a loved one is sick, when we're having family problems, problems at work, problems at school. We need Mary in our life when a loved one dies. And we bring Mary into our life when we turn to her in prayer. And so here we are in the month of October, a month that we have always devoted to the Holy Rosary. You know, I do believe that praying the Rosary is one of the best ways of turning to Mary in prayer. In an episode of the comic strip Hagar, Helga, Hagar's wife, is preparing dinner. She's in the kitchen. And she hears someone coming into the house and she yells, "Is that you, Hagar?" And Hagar yells back, "Yes." And she says, "You're late. Where were you?" And Hagar answers, "I had a business meeting with Attila the Hun." And Helga yells, "Well, hurry up and wash your hands. Dinner is almost ready." And Hagar shouts, "Honey, can I see you for a moment?" And she says, "Okay, but I'm busy. What do you want?" And now we see Hagar crawling into the kitchen on his hands and knees, arrows struck in his shield, a hatchet stuck in his helmet. He has obviously been in combat with someone. And now, battered and beaten, he says, "I need a hug." Hey, folks, we all do. We need a hug from our Blessed Mother. And you know, I think that Mary gives us that hug every time we pray the Hail Mary when we pray the Rosary. She gives us a hug to let us know that she loves us and cares for us. She gives us a hug to reassure us that she will help us with our problems and our sufferings. She gives us a hug to bring us peace of mind and heart in the midst of our sufferings. You know, when one of my nephews, who is now an orthopedic surgeon, was just a toddler, he wouldn't go anywhere without his favorite little blanket. It was a ragged old blanket, but he hung on to it with his life. And his older brothers and sisters always called it his security blanket. You know, it seemed to give him the feeling of security and safety. It was something for him to hold on to. And I do believe that for us Catholics, the Rosary can be such a security piece. When we hold on to the beads, we feel as if we're holding on to something that will see us through difficult times. But I don't think I have to tell you, the Rosary is so much more than a mere security blanket, a mere toy. You know, I have watched a countless number of people holding on to their rosaries in emergency rooms, in hospital beds, in funeral homes. And I am certain that holding on to those rosaries brought them more than security. It brought them comfort. It brought them inner peace. In an episode of the comic strip Peanuts, Linus is sitting in his house crying, and his sister Lucy comes to him and hands him a cookie. And she says, "Stop crying, Linus. Here, have a cookie." And Linus takes the cookie, and he stops crying. And Lucy pauses for a moment and then says, "But just remember this, Linus. The day is coming when a cookie will not solve you all your problems." You know, these are certainly words of wisdom. A cookie will not solve all our problems. Neither will alcohol, neither will drugs. Oh, they may help for a moment, but the temporary relief can lead to permanent misery. See, I believe there's only one thing that can help us with our problems, and that is the presence of Jesus and our Blessed Mother in our life. And this month we are reminded that praying the Rosary can help us with our problems. I got to tell you, one of my favorite stories is about the little girl whose dangling front tooth was finally jarred loose by a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And the next morning at school, she eagerly showed the money that the tooth fairy had left under her pillow. And a more wily classmate took her aside and said, "Your mom is the tooth fairy." And after school, the little girl ran home and confronted her mom, and she said, "Mom, is it true that you are the tooth fairy?" And the mother hugged her and said, "Well, yes, honey, I am." And the kid was stunned. And she cried out, "How could you do that? How could you go out every night as the tooth fairy and leave me here all alone?" Hey, folks, pardon the analogy, but I think that Mary is like the tooth fairy. She goes around from house to house, from person to person to take care of them, but she never leaves us alone. She's busy taking care of millions of people, but she's never too busy to take care of us. She's always with us. I ask you to think about this. When you pray the Rosary, do you realize how many millions and millions of people are praying the Rosary at that very same time? And yet Mary is listening to you as if you are the only person praying that Rosary. You know, I leave you with on a personal note. They tell the story of a woman who was very religious. She had a great love for our Blessed Mother, and she prayed the Rosary every day. And one day, while talking to some friends, she said, "You know, I have been praying the Rosary for many years now. I have learned that whenever I turn to Mary with my troubles, she will somehow or another get me through them." And one of her skeptical friends said, "Just you wait. Sooner or later, something so terrible will happen in your life that not even Mary will be able to help you." And again she repeated, "Just you wait." And after a short pause, the very religious woman smiled and said, "You know, many years and many troubles have passed since then. And guess what? I'm still waiting, because Mary has never failed me. Folks, on a personal note, I'd like to tell all of you that I have been praying the Rosary for many, many years, ever since my mom taught me how to pray it. And many years have passed in my life, and I have endured many troubles, so to speak. Sickness of loved ones, personal sickness, disappointments, death of loved ones. And you know something? Mary has never failed me. And you want to know something else? I honestly believe she never will. And as I look at you here this morning, I get the impression that many of you feel the same way. So as we continue our novena, let's thank Mary for being such a wonderful, loving, caring mother. Let us thank her for her rosary, which brings us so much comfort, so much peace of mind and heart.